Welcome to the David Wells Experiment. I'm your host, David Wells, and today we will be talking about Pokemon Gen 1 and Gen 2, the video games. When observing the mechanics of Pokemon Red and Blue and their successors, Gold and Silver, what stands out is not nostalgia, but architecture. Systems built for growth under constraint. Environments engineered to teach resilience through repetition. These are not games in the trivial sense. They are structured experiences that reward foresight, discipline, and adaptation. Most will see a game of colorful creatures and childhood wonder, but look closely, and you'll find a training ground for strategic thinking, and more subtly, a metaphor for survival and development in a hostile world. You begin with nothing but a choice. The player begins alone in a small town, given a single creature and vague instruction: travel, battle, grow. There is no institution offering support. There is no fallback. This is not an oversight, it is design. You are meant to feel exposed, because clarity emerges when there is no one to save you. This is the true starting point of development. Not wealth, not alliances, but awareness. You are responsible for every outcome. Success is not guaranteed. Mistakes have cost. The early game is punishing for the impulsive and generous only to the meticulous. You learn quickly that the wrong move can mean total failure. And so, the wise player starts cautiously, trains deliberately, plans constantly. Growth is earned, not given. Pokemon do not evolve because of story progression. They evolve because they are trained, again and again, in tall grass, in caves, against random opponents. There is no shortcut, only repetition and resolve. This is a truth often forgotten in the modern obsession with speed. Real capability takes time to build. You do not become strong by skipping battles. You become strong by enduring them. The temptation to rely on a single overleveled Pokemon is high, but that strategy collapses when the opponent presents a hard counter, a type advantage, a stat imbalance, a tactical surprise. Fragility hides inside overconfidence. A diversified, well-leveled team is the product of planning. It reflects long-term thinking, not just how to win now, but how to stay ahead in uncertain conditions. The rival is a crucial element. Your rival is always a few steps ahead. He does not offer comfort or camaraderie. He challenges, he defeats, he mocks. Many players resent him. That is a mistake. The rival's function is not antagonism. It is calibration. He exists to expose gaps in your preparation, to test your progress in real terms. Without him, complacency would creep in. The illusion of competence would replace actual competence. Systems without rivals stagnate. Individuals without pressure atrophy. The presence of a challenger is not a threat, it is an asset. An early warning system that prevents soft decay. In any environment striving for excellence, the rival is indispensable. The world expands, and so must the mind. When Gold and Silver arrived, the world doubled in size. A second region, a time cycle, new evolution methods. Old mechanics changed. Familiar paths became obsolete. This is not just expansion, it is transformation. The player must adapt not only to more content, but to altered rules. What worked before may no longer suffice. What was dominant now has a counter. New systems render old strategies inefficient. Such transitions are uncomfortable but necessary. The future cannot be managed with tools of the past. Players and leaders must rebuild their playbook continually. Those who do not adapt will find themselves overwhelmed by complexity, surpassed by those who did not cling to comfort. Weakness is inherent. Denial is fatal. Every Pokemon has a type. Every type has a weakness. Even the strongest teams are vulnerable. There is no perfect configuration, only mitigated risk. The player learns to build around weakness, to cover them, to anticipate and neutralize the threats they create. This is a profound lesson. Vulnerability is not a failing. Pretending it doesn't exist is. Systems, teams, nations, they all have limits. The key is to identify them early and build defensive structures accordingly. In Pokemon, ignoring type matchups leads to defeat. In governance, ignoring social, technological, or geopolitical exposures leads to collapse. Self-awareness is not indulgent, it is essential. Infrastructure beats brute force. A player who invests in status effects, battlefield control, and stat management will often outperform the one who relies purely on attack power. The same is true for large systems. Raw power fades. What endures is infrastructures, institutions, education, logistics, hygiene, data, memory. Fast wins are often seductive but shallow. Sustainable success comes from investing in the invisible, the unseen advantages that accumulate quietly over time. Speed may win battles. Structure wins wars. Evolution reflects commitment. In Gold and Silver, evolution becomes more complex. Some Pokemon evolve through happiness, some only at night. Some require trade. Evolution is no longer just about level. It's about environment, relationship, timing. This reflects reality. Progress is no longer linear, nor is it guaranteed. It requires context. It demands alignment between conditions and intentions. A player cannot simply will progress into being. They must create the right environment for it to happen. That is not a burden. It is a challenge, and one that separates wishful thinking from strategic execution. The end game is measured in legacy. At the conclusion of Gold and Silver, the player returns to the original region, now changed. They face the old gym leaders, now stronger. They revisit old towns, now evolved. Finally, they reach Mount Silver, where the final opponent, Red, waits silently at the summit. Red says nothing. He simply fights. He is not a person, he is a standard, an ideal, a culmination of what came before. This is legacy, not sentiment, not applause, but a standard that demands you rise to meet it. Systems are judged not by their founders, but by their successors. The measure of a plan is how well it holds when its architect is gone. Pokemon as a mirror of meritocracy. At its core, Pokemon is a meritocratic system. Success is not inherited. It is earned through choices, through discipline, through iteration. You do not win because you started well. You win because you made adjustments, because you learned from failure, because you kept moving. There are no cheats for mastery, no easy mode for understanding, only data, planning, and execution. That is the beauty of the system and its warning. Many will continue to see these games as childhood diversions. That is their prerogative. But for those who study systems, who think in arcs and structures, Pokemon offers a dense metaphor, one that illustrates the cost of complacency, the virtue of preparedness, and the necessity of evolution. It is a story, yes, but also a training exercise, a philosophy, A reminder that growth is possible for those who structure for it, sacrifice for it, and stay vigilant in a changing world. Not all simulations teach this. Fewer still do it so quietly. But for those with the eyes to see, the map is there, and the mountain waits.